Turn on your mic. Welcome to the Tri-Community News Plus Candidate Forum. My name is Don Fish Jr., and I'm the editor and publisher of the Tri-Community News Plus newspaper. Tonight, we are live at the Phelan Community Center and streaming via News Plus YouTube channel. Tonight, we have seven candidates who graciously agreed to participate in tonight's forum. News Plus is excited to be a part of the 2024 election and to help introduce you to these 6 community members, our neighbors, who have decided to run for public office. They are not career politicians, they are residents of the Tri-Community who live, work, and play here. If elected, each of them has committed to give of their own time and expertise to help guide us through the next few years. There are 2 candidates running for one spot in the Snowline Joint Unified School District's Board of Trustees Area 2. They are Corey Lefevre and Jennifer Rader. The district is divided into 5 different trustee areas. Each of the trustee areas is represented by a single trustee, making up a 5-member board. For each trustee area, the representative must live within that area. Area 2 covers Phelan from Highway 138 to Wilson Ranch Road and roughly Del Rosa Road to West Cajon Valley. There are 3 candidates running for 2 spots on the Phelan Pinon Hills CSD board. The board consists of 5 members with 2 board member positions up for election this year. The candidates are Rebecca Cuyava, Deborah Phillips, and Mary Tree Galley. Rebecca and Deborah are in attendance tonight. There are 5 candidates running for 2 positions on the Wrightwood CSD board. The board consists of 5 members with 2 board member spots up for election this year. The candidates are Martha McFowles, Rick Christensen, Chad Michael Keel, Dan Gould, and Jill Carlton Payne. Martha, Dan, and Rick are in attendance tonight. For the next 90 minutes or so, tonight's forum will present each of these candidates to you so that you may make a better informed decision when it comes time to vote on November 5th. There will be a short meet and greet directly following the forum. To start off, each candidate will be given 2 minutes, will be given 1 minute for an opening statement to introduce themselves. Each candidate will answer 3 questions relating to the district for which they are running. They will have up to 1 minute to answer each question. Nope, they will have up to 2 minutes, for each question. If time allows, a 4th question will be asked to all of the candidates. Lastly, each candidate will have 1 minute to give a closing statement. So my notes are a little off. I believe I told you that you'd have 2 minutes for your closing statements, so my apologies. The candidate speaking order for each selection was randomly selected earlier today. A timer will be visible on the monitors to help candidates keep track of their time, and I will moderate their time, asking a candidate to wrap up if they are running long. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for attending tonight. Thank you. We have a live audience as well, and thank you out in YouTube land. So let's move into the candidate introductions. Candidates, I will announce your name and ask you to begin your introduction. The clock will begin to count down when you begin to speak. First up will be the candidates running for Snowline Board of Trustees Area 2, and that will be Corey Lefevre.
Well, first off, Don, and thanks for News Plus and for being willing to host this. What a great opportunity we have to introduce ourselves to the community and be able to say a little bit. My name is Corey Lefevre. I've been in the community, the Tri-Community, my whole life, other than a few years away. I grew up here. I'm married with 4 daughters, all raised in the community, went to school here in Snowline. One of the biggest things I feel is important about me is my community involvement. My family has been here. My parents, my in-laws, all of us grew up here and lived here for a lot of years. I want to be able to support, be an active listening voice for the members of the community so that we can make sure that we have the best education, quality education, safe environment, accountability for all, as well as community involvement within the school district.
All right. Thank you, Corey, and thank you for your kind words. Our next candidate will be Jennifer Rader.
Good evening.
There you go.
Good evening. I've been in the High Desert area since 1993 and part of Phelan community since 2006. I've taught school for 34 years and partially in Riverside County and then up here in Adelanto. I have 2 children who came through the Snowline School District, and they're wonderful, productive human beings, grown-ups. And I just think education is the keystone for people's future. And finding a way to give back to your community through the educational system is a great way to support that future. I'm a teacher myself. I've taught K through 8, mostly 3rd grade, but I've recently moved down to 1st grade. And reading skills are absolutely the most important thing they need to start with. Running out of time. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next up will be the candidates running for the Phelan Pinon Hills Community Services District. And we'll start with Deborah Phillips.
Good evening. I'm Deborah Phillips. I've lived in the community since 2011. The first time I actually visited this area was during the 90s when my mom lived in the area. And it was very different from where I grew up in Riverside. However, I fell in love with the community. And as soon as I knew I was coming back to the High Desert, I chose Phelan. It was the only choice I knew could be a positive choice for my family. My views on where we need to go with the CSD is continue to keep our bills affordable for the community and growing our park with resources that are accessible. I look forward to seeing our new the park expansion, I should say, which it was a new park. It'll be a park expansion. Hopefully one day we'll see it happen. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Deborah. I need to brush up on my small talk to give us time to set up for our next. All right, next up will be Rebecca Cuyava.
Good evening. My name is Rebecca Cuyava, and I am honored to be here tonight. I am running for Phelan Pinon Hills Community Service District. I have been in the community since 2004. Both of my children went through Snowline and graduated. I myself am a dedicated Snowline employee for almost 17 years now, and also a current board member for the Phelan Pinon Hills Community Service District, running on 5 years now. My community involvement includes the Phelan Chamber of Commerce. Been with them for about 7 years and dedicated to helping bring activities to the community. And I look forward to the opportunity to continue to serve, because I myself also am excited to see the park and civic center. I just don't feel like I'm done serving yet. Thank you.
All right, thank you, CSD candidates. Next up will be the candidates running for the Wrightwood Community Services District Board. And we'll begin with Dan Gould.
Thank you. My name is Dan Gould. Buttons are useful. Thank you. My name is Dan Gould. I moved to Wrightwood in approximately fall of 2020, and I work out at Edwards Air Force Base as a rocket test engineer. Wrightwood has a very special place in my heart, both because of how wonderful a place it is. It's going to be to raise my child with my wife, and the fact that it is one of the few places within driving distance of jobs at which you have a chance to see something usually accidentally blow up without having to live in a very hot conditions. I love the town, and I very much want to do what I can to help it continue to exist with its charm and safety and general great camaraderie all around.
Thank you, Dan. And next up will be Rick Christensen.
Hello, I'm Rick Christensen, and I'm running for Wrightwood Community Service Department, board member. I built a house up here, I believe about 7 years ago, and have been living here, but I have been skiing and stopping off in Wrightwood for, I hate to admit it, a half a century, just about 50 years. But I do love the place, and I have been doing some projects for CSD, and it is best to continue those if I get on the empty seat on the board, so I look forward to it. And thanks everybody for being here tonight.
All right, thank you, Rick. And our final candidate will be Martha McFowles.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming, and everyone out there in the TV land. I just want to say that I am running for the CSD. I am currently a wonderful volunteer, and I get that a lot, for a lot of programs in the community now. So I figured that my experience, education will help me serve better on the district, the Wrightwood Community Center's Board of Directors. I am currently on the board for the Wrightwood Property Owners Association, and we do a lot of community service. I volunteer at the Big Pines Visitor Center. I also volunteer for Adopt a Highway, which I am now overseeing. And I also volunteer for the Wrightwood Village Trail, which means maintenance and decorating and all that good stuff. And we also have fundraisers every once in a while to contribute to the maintenance of the trail itself. I work part-time at Mountain High as a cashier. I enjoy that because I meet people from all over the world, just like I'm meeting right now.
Please wrap up.
I love people. I love our community.
Thank you, everyone. We will now move on to the question and answers. I will rotate through each candidate, giving them an opportunity to answer a question first. Each candidate will answer each of the questions. Candidates, I will announce your name, and you may begin as soon as you are on screen, on monitor. The clock will begin to count down at that time. So, round one questions. We'll begin with the Phelan Pinon Hills Community Services District candidates. What is your approach to ensuring the financial health of the CSD, especially with regard to maintaining affordable rates for water and other services while funding new projects? And if you'd like me to repeat the question, just let me know and I will be glad to do so. Deborah, you're up.
Can you repeat the question one more time?
Sure. Okay. What is your approach to ensuring the financial health of the CSD, especially with regard to maintaining affordable rates for water and other services while funding new projects?
I would aim to continue to research grants and other means of solution for our funding beyond just ratepayers. I would continue to communicate with the public with the needs and also aim for lower cost solutions for any of the problems we will continue to face. That's it.
All right.
Keep
Thank
it simple.
All right. Rebecca, would you like me to repeat the question?
Please.
All right. What is your approach to ensuring the financial health of the CSD, especially with regard to maintaining affordable rates for water and other services while funding new projects.
Okay, so as a current board member, I know that our financial staff is incredible, and they have received many awards for how well they managed the finances of the CSD. We did recently initiate a meter assistance program, which helps people get a new meter. So I believe that's one way to help the financial health of our constituents as well as the CSD itself. And we do also have some excellent employees that are always looking out for awards, grants, and financial funding for the district. As far as affordable rates, it is always the most important thing for us to make sure that our community can afford to have, good clean water and the other services that we offer. We have had opportunities where we could have raised rates and we chose not to, or to spread them out over a 5 to 6 year period. So I believe that will help them as well. And then, of course, funding new projects. We did just receive a $2 million grant from FEMA to help with our Civic Center. So we are always looking out for ways to, to keep costs down for ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now we'll move on to the Snowline candidates. And the question is, if Measure J is approved, what specific facility improvements do you think should be prioritized to ensure students have a safe and modern learning environment? And we'll start off with Corey Lefevre. And again, if you want me to repeat that, I'd be glad to.
If you would, that would be great.
Okay. If Measure J is approved, what specific facility improvements do you think should be prioritized to ensure students have a safe and modern learning environment?
I think the big thing would be relying on our maintenance folks. They obviously have a good grasp of what's going on what needs to be done. But I would say that the big important thing is safety things that are going to make our students, make it safe for our students and staff to show up to work, show up to school, so that they have a good learning environment, so they can focus on the things that really matter, and that's their education. Not just the education of the students, but also the environment for the teachers to be able to educate properly. So critical infrastructure, stuff like roofs, being able to have the proper facilities by bathrooms. A lot of our plumbing is outdated, so all of those things are really crucial for the safety and the availability for them to function properly in school, if you will. But also, technology is going to be important. So some of our technology is outdated. It's stuff that needs to be, the modernization needs to be brought up to speed, help these students to have the ability to learn in today's technology, with today's technology, and be able to, for the teachers to be able to introduce that technology to them so that they can be ready to enter the workforce most effectively and be able to really grasp where they need to be when they exit school and get into the workforce.
All right, thank you. All right, next up is Jennifer Rader.
Hi. Yes, I concur with my colleague, Mr. Lefevre, but also a very important structure that could be purchased with Measure J is some of the schools do not have multi-purpose rooms. And I just realized that today I was speaking with Mr. Holman, and I realized that a couple of schools don't have a multi-purpose room. Those are critical for large gatherings, for when they're used for cafeteria, for lunchroom. They're also used for assemblies. They're used for after-school activities. They're used in emergency situations. So a multi-purpose room would be a very, very important way to. It would be an important priority for the Measure J funding. Thank you.
All righty, thank you. All right, next up, we will move on to our Wrightwood CSD candidates. And the question is, what is your vision for expanding or improving recreational facilities in Wrightwood, and how would you prioritize those improvements if elected? And we'll begin with Dan Gould. And I can just ask me if you'd like me to repeat it or not.
Thank you. As for recreational facilities in Wrightwood, I think the constraint that would be most evident is space. We don't have space to put in tennis courts or basketball courts or things like that. And so the space that we do need needs to be optimized as well as it can. Only recently, thankfully, the CSD was able to put in a new playground for the kids, and it is, well, quite wonderful. I think for other recreation spots, I think the important thing was, in addition to space, would be to make sure that any places that we do put in other recreation locations are safe, and the parents feel they can have their kids go there and enjoy themselves without worrying, for example, that the kids are going to chase a ball out into the street. We are on a highway. It's Highway 2. The cars often treat it like a highway, which is understandable, but if you have kids, you want to make sure that they're protected from that. When I'm working, for example, last year, when I was volunteering for the Wrightwood Car Show, when I was directing traffic, we found, I believe, a basketball and it was some other kind of ball lying in the street that had been tossed over the fence of the elementary school and had come to rest, someplace else. I would like to make sure that there is, to reduce the risk of kids going after and chasing balls down to the street, and therefore maximize the use of the facilities we already have. And finally, by spending money to maintain said facilities so that they stay in their current shape for as long as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up will be Rick Christensen. What is your vision for expanding or improving recreational facilities in Wrightwood, and how would you prioritize those improvements if elected?
Thank you. Fortunately, Wrightwood has some excellent recreational programs, especially the baseball that goes on there. I see even people in this room that I think they grew up with that program and like it. It does operate usually at a little bit of a profit. The kids' playground was just redone, and my two youngest granddaughters gave it their official seal of approval. That was well done, but it took too long. So, but Wrightwood is a large city, and all these large geographically for having one park. And there are all the lots that are on the east side of the city that are too small to build on. And it would be a good spot for micro parks, so you wouldn't have to drive to the child's park. The parking for the recreation is crowded. When we have ball games or tournaments, I live a half a mile away. I tend to walk because it's about the closest parking place that you can get. And it holds our capacity down for that type of recreation. And so parking is at a premium, but we can redo it to get some more usable parking spots to get better use out of what we have. And I think that's about it for recreation.
All right, thank you, sir. And our final candidate is Martha McFowles. What is your vision for expanding or improving recreational facilities in Wrightwood, and how would you prioritize those improvements if elected?
Okay, right now we have several programs for the children and teens. I think we need more programs for teens to keep them involved so they stay out of trouble. Yes, our parks is very small, but our community is not very big, but it's suitable for what we have. The equipment has been replaced. We also need to add more parking. That's the main problem, because a lot of the parents, grandparents, aunts and uncles like to go to attend the softball games, the football games, the baseball games, and whatever other sports are going on. Now the adult softball is going. So, yeah, it's the situation with the parking. That's the main thing. And there's grants out there that we can get to accommodate the parking. And there are some lots across the street from the current parks and recs that we have. And I think that we have what we need at the present time. But if we grow a little bit more, the parking would make a big difference. And I think our kids really like what's there now. I'm speaking in general for all kids because I don't have any little kids right now. But I think that's the main thing, is funding and getting the proper grants to accommodate and make us grow a little bit better so we don't have to tax everybody crazy. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, we're moving on to round two. All right, and the first question will go to our Snowline candidates. Student mental health is increasingly tied to safety. What initiatives would you advocate for to ensure that students feel safe both physically and emotionally in their school environments? And we'll begin with Jennifer.
That's a great question. I'm really glad you asked that question. There should be a counselor assigned to every school site so that they're at the ready when something happens. Teachers should be equipped with social emotional lessons on a regular basis. It should be an ongoing part of education throughout the day. There's little lessons you can incorporate all week long that give the kids a chance to process their feelings and identify how they're feeling, and to recognize when they're getting overwhelmed, to recognize they have choices about how to behave when they're overwhelmed. And in case of urgent matters, we have to have a counselor at every site. That would be one way that I would prioritize that. The mental health of our children is more fragile now than I think it has ever been before, and I'd say it's probably due, I would say 90% to the cell phone use. So unsure of what the policy is in the district at this moment, I would say there should be a policy of zero cell phone use on campuses for any students, and tight monitoring of the social media and all the ways that people are able to cyberbully each other these days. So that would be something that we'd probably have to have a task force for, and to really make sure we can get to the bottom of how their social and emotional health is doing. But let's start with the counselors.
All right, thank you. All right. Corey, with student mental health increasingly tied to safety, what initiatives would you advocate for to ensure that students feel safe both physically and emotionally in their school environments?
I think Jennifer just touched on a lot of stuff that's really important. She did a great job explaining the things that are really important. I think it's a big concern that we have, not just in the district, in schools, but it's statewide. It's in law enforcement. It's everywhere right now. We are seeing it in law enforcement every day as we go about my professional job. I see it. It's important to make people aware. I think the awareness is going to be a big key to that. Jennifer mentioned counseling. I think the counselors have a lot of influence on these kids. The more counselor involvement, the better they can have the ability to help these students. She mentioned cell phone policies, as a lot of people in the area know. that policy just came about in our district, and there's a zero tolerance. And I think it's really important. It allows the students to be able to focus on school and not have to think about all the other things that are going on and how perfect everyone else's life looks, and debating on whether their life is as good as the next. So taking those phones away has been, I think, a good thing. I think if you talk to most of the staff, they would agree. That's been a great influence. Allowing to have some time to just be themselves. The recognition, the knowledge and power that staff members have, the more that they get involved, the more relationships they build with students is going to be a key in the success of these students. The other thing that I recognize and I think is really important is having some wellness centers. I think the high school just started something that I think is going to be powerful as these students start to recognize the ability and the option they have to go and talk to people, to get away from those stressful situations and just have a moment to themselves possibly, or just to talk to somebody. I think would be all of some important things, and knowledge is power. So helping people recognize the importance of this problem.
All right, thank you very much. We will now move on to our Phelan Pinon Hills CSD candidates. The district is responsible for solid waste and recycling services. How would you work to increase participation in recycling programs and reduce waste across the community? And Rebecca, you're up.
Thank you. We actually have currently about almost 71% of our customers are currently CR&R customers. They are doing the 3-bin sorting right now. We also have a awesome contest that we're running right now. It's called What is the Super Sorter program, and they are going to be having prizes. So if you sign up and you allow someone to go through your trash, which I know that sounds weird, but they go through your trash to make sure that you've sorted it correctly, then you could win a prize. So in our mailers, we have all kinds of awesome information that go out with that to explain, you can put it on your refrigerator to remember what goes in, each container. And so I think it was a little bit of a shock to the community when we first brought out the SB 1383, but now that we have the self-hauler option, I think a lot more people are very comfortable with that, and more people are starting to want to take their solid waste and recycling to the dump. It's just about education. If it's new, it's unfamiliar, and we just keep sending out that information, and I think it will help. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. The district is responsible for solid waste and recycling services. How would you work to increase participation in recycling programs and reduce waste across the community? Deborah.
During my almost 6 years on the board, I have been part of rolling out of the 3-cart or the bin with 2 carts service. It's been a major adjustment for our community. The education piece has been the biggest piece to understand that it will be easier once you get adjusted to it. We've been able to keep the lowest rates in our area by communicating with CR&R of our needs, and that's been a really big push for me, is that it has to be kept at lowest cost we can, while making the adjustment to only 1 service to actually 3 services with trash, organics, and recycling. The continued self-hauling was a big push. The state at first didn't want to recognize that we should have that right. And over time, we were able to show them where it really does help the area, that people are given that option, and that more will be able to maintain what they need by having that option versus forcing them to pay for a service that they don't want. I will continue to push for independence for each residence. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, we will move on to our Wrightwood CSD candidates. How would you ensure that the Wrightwood CSD maintains fiscal responsibility while still advancing key projects such as park upgrades and infrastructure improvements? And Rick, you are up.
Thank you. Well, there are needed infrastructure projects. I've been working one of those myself. And Wrightwood needs to expand its relationship, its organizational relationship, because we've kind of stayed at home and minded our own business, and we miss a lot of opportunities that way. Just this year, there's a whole bunch of grants that have been looked at. None of them have come through yet. And there's also the fact that we haven't made it very easy for our, shall we say, benefactors to help us. But they have expressed, and even in the last month, that they would like to help if we would make it easier for them. And we are doing that. But that rack and stack and assist program and working with them, it's too long of a subject for this question, but it will bring a lot of opportunity to Wrightwood. And so we need to do a better job at paying attention to what resources we actually have, and not be afraid to express needs that we do have, and put the two items together. So we're getting more efficient at picking up money, and we need to do that, and we need to continue that. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Are the monitors frozen? No. Just mine. That works. All right. Thank you. How would you ensure that the Wrightwood CSD maintains fiscal responsibility while still advancing key projects such as park upgrades and infrastructure improvements? Martha.
Thank you. Right now, we don't really have enough staff at the CSD, so we need a couple more people, but that will come in the future. They do the best they can, and the infrastructure does need a lot of work, and we're working on that also. We just currently got a grant to redo the bathrooms at the CSD. We're going to expand that, add some more, and I think we're also going to look into the sewer system possibility. It may be in the works already, and we're changing from septic. And we're also going to do some more lighting and expansion, and all those things are coming really quickly, and we need more volunteers actually to help, because the majority of the people just want things done, but they don't want to help. And they need to attend the meetings so they know exactly what the CSD is actually doing for the community. There's a lot of people who say, well, I don't know what they do. I don't want to go to the meetings. I don't have it. The only time they really show up is when they have a major issue. And right now we have a good program that is coming about. I'd like to be more involved in that. And I think just the grants that are coming in, we can get more grants to expand and improve our infrastructure. Thank you.
In terms of participation that you were talking about, I just want to say that your Pinion Hills counterparts, Phelan Pinion Hills counterparts, were agreeing with you in having participation. So, all right. How would you ensure that Wrightwood CSD maintains fiscal responsibility while still advancing key projects such as park upgrades and infrastructure improvements? Dan.
in one word, documentation. There's always going to be more projects desired, more things we'd like to pursue than the resources we have. Therefore, efficiency is always going to be paramount, whether it's a new bathroom here, a new play set there. Things always cost money, it's always going to be limited. And the only way to make sure we get the most for what we have is a well thought out process that is documented fully. Right now, the budget is not well documented for the CSD, or at least nowhere near what I would desire it to be. There are line items, but they're vague. The ability to get the budget, it's not easily online, it's not easily obtainable with a simple click or a large sign, and the transparency that would be provided by this additional documentation would also help encourage the entire town to get behind it. If you know exactly what you're going to be getting for your money, it's going to encourage more participation than some vague idea sometime that we hear money is going towards. And no, I think that is that's the end of my answer. I think, yeah, to efficiency via documentation.
All right. Thank you. All right. Question number or round number 3. All right. This question is for our Phelan Pinon Hills Community Services District candidates. As Phelan and Pinon Hills grow, how will you ensure that parks and recreation facilities and projects remain sustainable and ensure they meet local needs? And Deborah, you're up.
By continuing to look for resources to cover costs, to allow choices to filter to the top of the people would like. We are doing a minor improvement on the small park that we have here, and by doing little things like that, I think we can continue to improve our services through the parks. I'm very thankful that I've been able to serve with Rebecca, and she has done a wonderful job on Parks and Rec, and that has been a joy to see, and I'd like to see more of that. My focus has been more on the solid waste, so this really hasn't been my end. I've been thankful for Rebecca's help with that. So thank you.
Thank you. All right. As Phelan and Pinon Hills grow, how will you ensure that parks and recreation facilities and projects remain sustainable to ensure they meet local needs? Rebecca.
Thank you. We did do a large community study before we started this park enhancement project as well as the Civic Center. We had lots of meetings with lots of different community groups to kind of get an idea of what was important to them and what they wanted to see in that park. And I do feel like we have a really good, diverse set of options that we've laid out, enhancing the existing park, the fields for the soccer and the baseball, the equestrian section, the pump track. It has a little bit of everything that I feel that our families, students are going to want to use. Also, the Civic Center project. We're going to have the Emergency Communication Center built into that. So you can see with the bridge fire, we are that close to an emergency in our community, and this facility will help us be able to manage that situation. Also, we just recently acquired the old Pinon Hills Fire Station property, and we are budgeting some repairs for that. And I personally look forward to adding that as a community space. Quinceañeras, birthdays, even maybe weddings, just another event space in our community that everyone can use. And we really have the best rates in town. So thank you.
All right. Thank you. Next question would be for our Snowline candidates. Teacher retention is a growing issue. How do you plan to advocate for competitive salaries, benefits, and working conditions to retain high-quality educators in Snowline schools? And we'll begin with Jennifer on that. And I can repeat that if you want.
Yeah, one more time, please.
All right. Teacher retention is a growing issue. How would you plan to advocate for competitive salaries, benefits, and working conditions to retain high-quality educators in Snowline schools?
Well, the teaching profession is experiencing a grand exodus. So we really need to keep the teachers that we have here, and we need to attract and retain highly qualified teachers. The way to do that is to put teachers to the top of the list. You can't put students first when you're putting teachers last. So it's important that we stay competitive with the surrounding districts, make sure that our salaries are completely competitive and not at the bottom of the list, as they have been in past years. And offering health care packages that cover their whole families, and dental and vision, all of that needs to be considered. And there's a committee that will find the very best rates to get in a trust possibly sometimes, or in some other, they'll have providers that'll figure out the very best insurance rates that they can still provide everyone with the proper insurance. It's important to improve the working conditions, make sure that the class sizes stay low, and that the behaviors that the students that are exhibiting some behavior issues are supported by the administration, that teachers are not left alone to navigate the new curriculum, and that they are able to collaborate with each other and have some professional learning communities where they work together and lean on each other's strengths. And that the administration at each school is very, very supportive and will help to remove a student who might need to have a timeout, so that the students who are there to learn can continue to learn, and that we don't spend all of our time, 80% of our time, working with the students who are not there to learn, that they're to make a ruckus, and instead give our attention, as teachers should professionally give their attention to the students who are there to be taught and to learn.
Thank you. All right. Teacher retention is a growing issue. How do you plan to advocate for competitive salaries, benefits, and working conditions to retain high-quality educators in Snowline schools? Corey.
I think it's crucial to try to retain as many as we possibly can. I think the number one thing, clearly salary is always going to be an issue. It's always going to be something that we wish we could pay more. We live in an area that doesn't have the same funds that some of the other districts nearby have. We have a smaller community. Recently, the district was able to close that gap pretty considerably. I mean, they made up quite a bit of a difference the last 2 years, and I think that helps. But I also think that it also comes down to, as Jennifer mentioned, if we can close that gap and allow have smaller class sizes, allowing the teachers to gain the passion and to remember the passion that they got into teaching for. Sometimes it's easy to forget because they're dealing with things that they never thought they would have to deal with. They didn't realize that they were going to have to deal with the discipline issues they're having. And when you have an extra couple kids, 3 or 4 or 5, all of that makes a difference. And so I would say trying to get that number down, giving them the support that they need, allowing them to do their job, being accountable, not just the students, teachers, staff, helping with having the administrator step in and hold students accountable, even though that's a difficult thing. We always have people that, especially in law enforcement, I see it, people don't want to hold their family members accountable. And it's a growing problem clear across the nation. We have to start by dealing with those small things, giving the teachers the power and the authority to teach and get them back to their passion, give them a sense of pride back in their industry, and helping them realize that we support them, not only as a district, but as a community, as we start to hold people accountable, we'll be able to help them realize that we do appreciate them. They're recognized for their efforts, and they'll be able to teach and, again, create that passion and give back to the community to educate properly and efficiently. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and we'll move on to our Wrightwood CSD candidates. I feel like I should have a drum roll. The question is, how do you plan to collaborate with local law enforcement and other agencies to address crime and ensure that Wrightwood remains a safe community for residents and visitors? And Martha, you're up.
Okay, right now, our law enforcement needs to be, needs a lot of help. We need some more, we're trying to get a substation up there. So if we can get more people to, back the CSD up to get that substation, I think that would help get the police protection that we need in our community. And I would back that up myself. I would volunteer if I have to. But I do know some volunteer police officers that come to Mountain High, and they're willing to come and work as volunteer police officers if we get a substation. We also can have the substation where the other patrol officers that come in once in a while to the community can charge their equipment. That would be a nice addition that would, I think, would deter some of the people that come up and commit crimes. But I think we're doing okay so far, but still the fear is there. We need more protection. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right. So how do you plan to collaborate with local law enforcement and other agencies to address crime and ensure that Wrightwood remains a safe community for residents and visitors? Dan.
Thank you. Well, I think would be the optimal word I would hope there. One of the advantages of being a community service district member is that other government officials who otherwise might not give you the time of day will suddenly talk to you. We do not have any law enforcement under the Wrightwood CSD's authority at the moment, and we likely never will officially. But that doesn't mean we can't not collaborate, but communicate with the local law enforcement to hopefully make the best use of their resources. Right now in Wrightwood, in terms of safety, the two things that come to mind are, one, the people who do come to town to do crimes, and where rapid reaction to an unknown and unpredictable threat is required. For that, having an officer nearby and first finding what kind of funding and what kinds of funding sources it would take to do that is going to be required. The other obvious issue with safety is the big one that I'd like to focus on, and that is the few days of the year when we have snow players on Highway 2 ignoring all of the rules and blocking the entire road. This is not merely an annoyance, but an issue of life and death when emergency services cannot get where they need to go. When a 10-minute drive takes an hour and a half, people will and have died. As a CSD member, I intend to work with the authorities in question, hopefully the Highway Patrol and others, to enforce the laws that already exist. Hopefully being able to convince them that, look, if you send a car to enforce it, you can pay for a new patrol car in a day. Hopefully, I would like to make the safety of Wrightwood citizens my primary objective if serving on the CSD, and I think the way I'm going to focus on doing that is by hoping to alleviate the difficulties snow players cause.
Thank you. Rick, you're up. How do you plan to collaborate with local law enforcement and other agencies to address crime and ensure that Wrightwood remains a safe community for residents and visitors?
Well, first I'd like to say a little bit about snow players, since I usually have to remove them from my backyard. But it is a problem because they do plug the roads up to this point sometimes where emergency vehicles can hardly get by. The laws are there, enforcement isn't there to the extent that we would like. But just getting some help with that in those several days of the season when the snow play is high would work and solve that problem. Now, security not being part of the CSD, but we're citizens, and there is really no other place to take and focus an effort and push it toward security. I'm a fan of the San Bernardino County Sheriffs. But after talking with them, I said, I've developed a saying here for you guys right now. You're spread thinner than hot butter, and they are. Now, we have to help them or get somebody else on board because there are other options, and bring those to the table. That'll bring a different attitude on what can and can't be done. And the other thing is, it's not just us that's where the sheriff's department is thin. And so we need to take and bring that petition to the state so that more funds can come to the county and more funds can come to the sheriff's department and Wrightwood. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, we're into round 4. I should have a ding ding, ding ding ding. All right. So this question is actually for everybody on the panel. It's the same question. So we'll start with the Phelan Pinon Hills Community Services District candidates. If elected, what would be your top 3 priorities for the Phelan Pinon Hills CSD, and how would you work to implement them in the short and long term? And Rebecca, you're up first.
Thank you. What comes to mind first is water, which is obviously the biggest part of the CSD. And storage is our my biggest priority right now. We just had the amazing opportunity to have a brand new well come online that is saving us an exorbitant amount of money to not have to purchase water. But now we have all this water, and now we need to store it. We do currently have a project in the works for Tank 6A to be able to store additional water. And we do budget for that on an annual basis. So the funds would be there when it is time to bring that tank to fruition to store that. We've already talked a lot about it, but priority, I cannot wait to put a shovel in the ground to see this brand new Civic Center project and park enhancement come online. So that would also be a priority. And I did also mention it before, the Pinon Hills Fire Station. But ultimately, my priority is to serve the community. Like I said, I started out serving with the chamber, and it just got my juices flowing. And so, I'm here for the community, and what their priority is our priority. Thank you.
Thank you. Deborah, if elected, what would be your top 3 priorities for the Phelan Pinon Hills CSD, and how would you work to implement them in the short and long term?
Again, focusing on water because it is the biggest detail. It's on our table. The chromium 6 has been a big deal for a good chunk of our community. Thankfully, a solution beyond the pipeline has been provided. It's well profiling. It's looking down the well and seeing where it's coming in, and then shutting off that area of the well from production, so thus making the water chromium-free. That number is now below where the state wishes it to be. I'm very thankful for that. At some point, the fee will eventually drop off of our bills. Right now, it will continue until all of that problem has been solved. The second would be finishing the park development. It's been a long path. One of the biggest drivers of the park years ago was Charlie Johnson. I really want to see it finished for his spirit. He was the big part of this community, and seeing it come to fruit was his hope. And he's not with us anymore, but we can all see it for him. So I'm looking forward to that day. And finally, my biggest thing is transparency, being as transparent to the public and open to questioning and continuing that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, our Snowline candidates are up next. If elected, what would be your top 3 priorities for the Snowline School District, and how would you work to implement them in the short and long term? Corey.
Thank you. I think the 3 things that would be top priority for me would be the quality education, safety environment, or safe environment, and community involvement. They kind of blend together, I believe. I think that the quality education comes from passion, from respect, responsibility, from individuals that attend the school, from the staff that educate the students, and the parents and community members that are sending their students, or who have family or friends, or that attend classes. But then on top of that is that safety. So if people are respectful, they're responsible, they care for one another, they have a sense of community and pride for the school, they have that for themselves, they're going to create an environment that's safe, they're going to stand up for those that can't stand up for themselves. I think it's important not to have bullies, and to stand up for their fellow students. It also comes to that accountability piece, stepping up, making sure that not only the students, but also the staff are accountable. They're responsible for their decisions, and they're encouraging that among others. They're helping other people see the importance of that, so that they can be really the people that we want to produce, the students that we want to produce to have great citizens in our nation. And I think through being responsible for their own decisions, it helps them recognize the importance of that. And then the last is that community involvement. The reason that Heritage becomes so successful, I think, over the years, is because they are encouraged to be there. Parents are involved. They're not just involved in person at school. They're involved in their lives every single day, checking in on them. We need parents to check in on their kids, but we need them to be involved at school. And hopefully we can provide that opportunity for them to be involved. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Hi.
Jennifer.
Hi.
If elected, what would be your top 3 priorities for the Snowline School District, and how would you work to implement them in the short and long term?
Okay. All right, but the first priority would be safety and infrastructure for the schools. Second would be mental and emotional health for really all community partners, not just the students, the employees as well. And achievement and attendance. The attendance in Snowline is terrific. It's 92%, but we can always do better. And they can't learn if they're not in the seats. So in the short term, I think that having accountability with the students and counselors on hand to help them through their emotional, the stress that comes with a normal day at school, and recognizing that they come from a home environment that we don't know what they're coming in from home. Sometimes they need a little extra support. Snowline has a very good reputation in the area, very good reputation for very high standards and high expectations already. So it'd be important that we can team up from every employer level, from the custodial to the bus drivers to the secretaries, librarians, and media specialists, IT tech people. There's so many people that make a school district work, And having that infrastructure work together in a seamless way would be a great way long term to see all these things come to fruition. In terms of the situation for children and bullying, if each one could reach one, if you teach each child to go and do a nice thing for somebody, and that's where you put the value in. How can you help somebody? Not what did you get out of today? What did you learn today? What are your grades like? Who did you help today? Who did you make feel better? Did you see a lonely kid on the playground and go talk to them? So that's probably more achievable on a short-term basis. The attendance, they're already doing a terrific job with their attendance. I spoke with Mr. Holman today, and it's rewards based. The kids will show up when they want to qualify for some awards or for some raffle prizes or at Quail it used to be A's and O's. They get their A's in the attendance and their O's in the behavior, and they have to be there. You have to be in attendance to have those things happen. Education doesn't happen without them being in their seats.
All right, thank you. All right, we will move on to our Wrightwood candidates. And Dan, if you were elected, what would be your top 3 priorities for the Wrightwood CSD, and how would you work to implement them in the short and long term?
Thank you. First priority, I think we've already mentioned, would be the safety and security part. Making sure the town is wonderful all 356 days of the year, rather than just the 350 days where the snow doesn't attract the unwelcome issues that snow players bring. And working with local law enforcement is hopefully we can provide a solution to that in the near term. The second area I would focus on is continuing to make Wrightwood a wonderful place where, my wife and I, but hopefully everyone, can be happy and proud and excited to raise their kids. This means doing things like supporting activities for kids, like the free concerts that we have throughout the year, and the different events, the car show and the Mountaineer Days. My wife teaches dance classes for, well, to be honest, mostly young girls, but there are a few young boys there as well. And there's something wonderful watching them at their recital, the joy that they express. And yes, dancing, I think you can call it dancing, but they are very, very happy with their synchronized wiggling. Finally, my third priority would probably be fiscal responsibility and working hard to maintain that. We live in a world of infinite problems and finite resources. Efficiency is key to everything we do because there's always another problem that needs more resources to solve. Through transparency and documentation, I will like to give everyone confidence that we are using the resources that we are given to their most efficient extent, encouraging town participation and confidence in the CSD. Thank you.
Thank you. Rick, if elected, what would be your top 3 priorities for the Wrightwood CSD, and how would you work to implement them in the short and long term?
Well, on the top of my list is safety. And things are changing in Wrightwood. We, for a long time, have been the place that really didn't have much crime, didn't have many issues, and not being the squeaky wheel, we have been very thin in that department and also not needed it. But the times are changing up there. We have a little crime wave here, and it brings to our attention that we need to do something about it. And we have to bring several organizations to the table and see what they can do, because there's more than the one source that we've always gone to, which I happen to be a fan of, but I don't know that they have the resources to do the job up there for us. We need a police station or a sheriff's station on Highway 2 where it's visible to to the traffic that goes through, especially in peak season, because that's a deterrent. We had a substation up there before, but on Pine Street, you had to know where it was to see it, and that wouldn't be a deterrent. Now, it will come about probably first quarter of next year because Measure L can really shake out how those funds are going to go to unincorporated areas. So at that time, we got to see how Measure L is going to, if it passes, how it's going to be incorporated, and what other places we can go to and pull together a solution. The CSD is going to have to do it because it's sort of a conflict of interest for the county to do it. They would, they might be looking at charging themselves more money, so to speak. But the second thing is the CSD. When I was a CEO, or even when I was a CFO, and I'm kind of a fan of what CSD has done, especially in recreation, and caring to a detailed level.
We'll need you to wrap up, please.
They need to operate profitably. Plenty of CSDs do, and there's plenty of potential for that to do there. And I'm out of time to describe some of the projects that could be done, but that can be accomplished. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, Martha, if you were elected, what would be your top 3 priorities for the Wrightwood CSD, and how would you work to implement them in the short and long term?
Okay, my first would be security, more police protection. Also, we need to improve our evacuation system. We just had a big fire, and it was a little bit of a hard thing to go through when everybody had to evacuate so quickly. I think we need to, in the past, there were sirens that let people know that it's time to evacuate. I think we need to look back into that and bringing those sirens back, because that would help with the process of people getting ready to evacuate, knowing it's time to get prepared. And then when the officers or whoever else announces it, that they're coming through, or they call you on your phone or text you, it's time to leave, that would help the community. Also, my second would be Parks and Recs. We need to add more programs to that. I don't really know at the time what kind of programs we need, but I'm trying to focus more on teenagers. Teenagers get bored. When they get bored, they get into trouble. So if we keep them busy outside of school with more sports and activities that they think are going to work for them, then that would help deter them from getting into trouble. My third would be, let me see what my third, well, getting the community involved. Getting them, keeping them informed of what's going on in the community via whatever, Facebook, Instagram, any kind of social media. We can put the meetings, announcements on the electric board that we have, which is the electric sign that announces what's coming up, what events are happening. Also, like I said, more community involvement. People just need to know what's going on. And a lot of people are left in the dark because they don't have social media. But if we post it somewhere, if we have flyers, if we communicate with just one another, the community would know what's going on. And that's the main thing, is involvement, community involvement. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, those are our questions and answers. So we take a deep breath. We got it. We went through it. So we'll move on to the last segment of our forum, which will be the closing statements. Candidates, I will announce your name and ask you to begin your statement. The clock will begin to count down when you begin to speak. First up are the candidates running for the Phelan Pinon Hills Community Services District. And Rebecca.
Thank you. Thank you all for who came in person tonight. I want to extend my gratitude to Mr. Don Fish of Tri-Community News Plus for organizing the event, and to my fellow director, Deborah Phillips, for her ongoing support as we work together on the board. I also want to make sure that we thank our dedicated staff at the Phelan Pinon Hills Community Service District, because we are just 5 elected board members and they do all of the hard work. So I don't want them to be forgotten. I truly believe in the power of collaboration and fresh ideas to enhance our services and recreational opportunities. The community's voice matters, and I am eager to listen and work alongside you to create the best possible future for our community. I appreciate your support and consideration for my candidacy. Thank you.
All right. And next up will be Deborah Phillips.
Thank you for hosting this, Dawn. This has been great. It helps the community understand us a little bit better. I look forward to seeing where the new park goes and having it open, and seeing kids play in the splash pad, and just sitting and watching. I also understand that we're planting trees that I won't be necessarily sitting under, and understanding that we're planning for a future that we won't be a part of necessarily. Knowing that the infrastructure has to be in place for that future as well. Keeping an eye on water, and knowing that the water system is stable no matter the problem that comes to us. I'm thankful to say our water system is in the best state it's ever been. It handled the fires. It's handled every bump that's been tossed at it. And I'm very impressed the staff handles all those issues as they come. I look forward to possibly serving with Rebecca more. It's been a joy serving with her and the others I have. The community has been a blessing to my family, and I look forward to the future that we have here. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. All right, next up will be our Wrightwood CSD candidates, and we will begin with Rick.
Thank you. Well, here we are at the closing minute. Now, Wrightwood is handicapped by a lack of infrastructure, sewer, parking, actually pretty much you name it. We've fallen a bit behind. Being an infrastructure engineer at one time, that's why I have conceived some projects, and they are some funded and going together, and that needs to continue because it's holding up all the rest of what Wrightwood can be. And we have to be careful with what Wrightwood can be because there's a culture there that needs to be protected. Okay? And we can do this. I know I hear a lot of conversation that it's just such a big task. And that it's the giant elephant in the room, but how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. We know that saying. And that's how we have to attack things in Wrightwood too. One piece at a time. Have a clear goal, and we will get there. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Martha. This is your closing statement.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, I want to thank everybody for coming. I want to thank Dawn and the Tri-Community News Plus, my friends who also work for the paper, and everyone else out there. I think I could be of service to our community. I think there's a lot that can go on, and I have the knowledge to keep our community a little bit, well, actually make it a little bit better. I can seek programs, funds, address issues, listen to people's input and think about it, present it to the board, I just think that we all need to be involved and take care of each other. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I bet our Snowline candidates thought we forgot about you. So next up will be our Snowline Board of Trustees and Jennifer. I'm sorry? Oh, Dan. It wouldn't be a News Plus forum if I didn't forget somebody.
Don't worry, I'm quite forgettable.
So my apologies, Dan. You have a minute.
Thank you. I love Wrightwood. A few weeks ago, our house came 40 feet from burning to the ground, and it simply doesn't matter. It's still there, our family's still there, and we intend to stay there and raise our kids there. I look forward to the day when she can walk, and I can tell her that tree, and that tree, do whatever you want, just stay within those bounds. And I'm able to do that because it's safe. To support that, I'd like to become a board member of the CSD. As a CSD board member, I can promise you that I would use the training and practice I've had as an engineer, testing rockets and jet engines, and things that require focus and careful, logical analysis, and use those same skills to make decisions on the board. I promise to listen, I promise to be reasonable, and I promise to make the best possible decisions for our wonderful town. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dan, and I apologize again for skipping over you there. That's all the time we have. No, just kidding. All right, so next up is our Snowline candidates, and Jennifer, please.
I would love to serve our community on the Snowline Joint Unified School District. I know I could bring experience and qualifications that would enrich our district. I think I understand clearly what it takes to be a trustee of a school district, and I would welcome the chance to serve our students and staff. And thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. And Corey, you're up.
Well, thanks again for hosting this and putting this together, Don, and News Plus. What a great opportunity each of us have had to introduce ourselves, give a little bit of a snapshot of what we do and what we believe. First and foremost, I just want to say thank you for letting me be part of the community. This is a great community. It's given me so much. I hope to give back. I want to give back a little bit more, which is why I'm stepping in and trying to get on the school board. I want to be able to give back to this great community. I'm not stuck here. My wife and I made a strategic move years ago to come back to the community that gave us so much. We're grateful we're here. This school district has provided 2 of our children that have graduated with great opportunities, and continue to give great opportunities to the 2 that we still have in the district. We're grateful for that. I want to be part of moving things forward, helping us improve. I can commit to being an active listener and an active voice for those that want to provide information so that we can move things forward and help things improve. We have a great district. We have great employees that make so many wonderful things happen, and I want to be a part of that. So if you have any comments, questions, things that we can improve, reach out to me. My website's votelefevre.com, and I have a form on there you can fill out. I'd love to hear what you have to say and what we can do to help things. And if I can gain your trust and gain your vote, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, we have come to the end of the forum portion of tonight. Thank you, each and every one of you, for participating tonight. It's much appreciated. Those of us at News Plus are glad to be able to put this on and be a part of the democratic process to help everybody, vote for the person they feel can best do the job. And I think regardless of the outcome of the elections, all of you have demonstrated here tonight that you can do the job. And I hope that you continue to be an active member in the community moving forward. And we'll see you next year, maybe. And I'd also like to thank everyone who came out tonight to watch this and take part. And I've probably talked enough, so let's start the meet and greet. You're welcome to grab your name card and head to the back. We've got cookies and water back there, so that might entice people to come back and talk to you, or you're welcome to stay here, whatever works. But we'll go ahead and close off the live portion of this, and thank you again. Thank you, everyone.